Hey, just finishing this clean to get Dave back on the road.
Nice. I wonder what Dave's doing.
You do your thing. We've got you covered.
Hey, is the power off on this?
I don't know. Just take it off.
Safety violation, unsafe work conditions.
In the construction trades unions, safety is our highest priority, and we train you to recognize and speak out on unsafe working conditions so that everyone arrives and goes home safely. Learn about careers in construction at georgiaconstructioncareers.com.
All right, good afternoon and welcome to the 300th episode of the Alfa Insurance Georgia Prep Sports Drive for the GHSA State Title. It's episode 300 and we have a very special guest today. It's going to be Walton head coach Daniel Brunner. They're gearing up for a big second round matchup against North Gwinnett. We're privileged to have him on, so let's go ahead and get started. Coach Brunner, how's it going?
Outstanding, Craig. Thanks so much for having us on.
You bet. So I saw you guys had a little college game day outside of the front office, I think, or the main entrance. Let's talk about that and how you guys came up with the idea.
You know, we've been trying to get some morning pep rally stuff going on around here, just more excitement about the football season, and kind of been doing some stuff the last couple years and have a great group of senior students that wanted to help put on a college game day thing. So got them together and did a fantastic job. Band out there cheer, and they had a whole PowerPoint presentation, had the college pick'em, guest picker. It was a fun morning for us, that's for sure.
Yeah, well, I hope no one picked the Bulldogs in this one. I'm sure it's a consensus Raider on the picks.
Absolutely.
Yes. All right, so one of the things that I've seen throughout the season, it's this 1-0 mantra. That's kind of been the driving force of the team's mentality all season. Just talk about what that means and how you guys preach it each week in the lead up to the game.
Well, I think it really just goes back to what we've been preaching at the beginning of the season was we've got a lot of potential, but can we continue to get better throughout the season? And if we do that daily, weekly, we'll be where we want to be this time of the year. And the kids have really bought into it, you know, and I'll say that I think we've put together two of the best practice weeks, these two playoff weeks that we have all season long. And that's really what you want. You want to see full commitment at this time of the year, being attended to film, being at all your meetings, when and where you're supposed to be there. I just think where we're sitting right now, we've got a lot of committed kids that are willing to do whatever it takes to keep this season going as long as we can. And just try to be 1-0 daily and 1-0 on Friday night.
That's right. And, I mean, you have a team. It's a special group of guys. They genuinely love going out there and competing together. So what does it mean just to have another opportunity tonight to go on the field and play under the lights in a big stakes game?
No, I mean, just no doubt about it. Just having the home playoff advantage is huge. And we love playing in Raider Valley. It's a great atmosphere on Friday night. So I'm happy for the senior group who's poured so much into this place to be able to get another night under the lights in Raider Valley. But, you know, it's playoff football in Georgia. You're down to 16, and you got, you know, really what I think is the best football in the nation going on this Friday night. So we're excited about the opportunity. Got a little history with North Gwinnett, obviously. New staff over there with Coach Godfrey coming in, but got a little bit of history with them from first game, and I got the head job. Second year we played them on ESPN, and they got the best of us the following year. But they're a good program, do a great job, and I think they're going to bring a good crowd over here. So it should create a great high school football experience.
Yeah, and I want to talk about the defensive side of the ball. That's something that has really stood out about this year's team, just week in and week out, putting in the effort, playing tough football, and just seeing a whole cast of guys coming in and just having outstanding seasons. Loda Agukwe, hopefully I'm saying that right. Looks like he's really stepped up. But talk about what you've seen from the defense all throughout the season.
Yeah, I mean, I think this is maybe the best defense we've had, to be quite honest with you, from a schematic standpoint, from a personnel standpoint. and they just play relentless throughout 4 quarters of football. And I think that some of the goals that we've set out for them week in and week out have been pretty high, and they just keep achieving them. We keep doing some things, whether that's scored on defense like we done last week and did the week 1 game and multiple times this year, or just creating disruptions in the defensive side of the ball. This defense is.
So we lost him for a second. Hey, Coach, can you hear me?
You lose. Yeah. You got me there. Sorry about that, guys. But yeah, just from a defensive perspective, I just think we've become way more dynamic, way more explosive. The way I kind of look at this team is, look at the boxing analogy. We throw a lot of body punches on offense and defense, but we throw some haymakers, some big uppercuts that have really put some teams in a bad spot. And defensively, we're doing the same thing as we're doing offensively. Offensively, it's a shot over the top. Defensively, it's a tackle for loss, a sack, a turnover. But Lodi's had a great season. Lodi Ugokwe, 3-year starter for us, committed to Yale, just an outstanding young man, an outstanding football player. But it's really just a cast of guys that are really playing selfless. Obviously, you got the big names in Ashton Woods, Wendell Gregory, but this team is selfless and playing for one another, and I think the defense has really epitomized that throughout this whole year.
Yeah, and you guys have really tried to establish a physical brand. It's shown this season, and I almost compare it to, I guess, a movie where, let's say it's like a war or battle movie where the conditions are tough, and it's that's almost what bonds them and gives them that extra energy. So what is it about practice, just the hard work, the grind, where your players genuinely love the challenge, love just going out there and competing at the highest level?
Yeah, I think there's been situations where not only in the offseason and practices, but even in games, you look at the North Cobb game, we probably played as bad as we could have in that first quarter, and our boys just battled. They never flinched. They never batted an eye. They knew we had the ability to do what we ended up doing in that game. But defensively, we did not start off too hot, and we settled in, started playing our brand of ball, and it really helped gel us up, create belief and trust. We go play Wheeler for the region championship game in Game 10. They first drive, they pop a long run, quarterback run for a touchdown. Again, we didn't bat an eye. I just think those instances have really created a trust and a bond with this group that no matter what happens in a game, we're always going to have a chance. It's not just the offense that can go score, it's the defense now. And, those moments of adversity are things that I think true state champion type teams have to go through to get to where they want to be, because it's definitely going to happen in the playoffs at some point in time. So for me, it's been good to watch us handle those situations the right way. If they do pop up again, I'm fearful of how we're going to handle them.
Yeah, and you can see it, the explosiveness on both sides of the ball. I think that is embodied in that ball down, ball out mantra you guys have, where it's any given play, you guys are ready to go as soon as that ball's hits the ground. So talk about what that mantra means and just how important it is to the program.
Yeah, it's really the backbone of what we do. We believe in this mentality of no excuses, no complaining, find a way to get your job done, and that's on the football field and in life. As far as football goes, it's all about preparation. That's much like life. If we prepare throughout the week the right ways, we'll put the ball down and we'll ball out against anybody, anywhere, anytime, any place. And we truly feel like our kids have bought into that since we first got here 7 years ago. That only has been strengthened and bolstered, I think, from our success on the field. But I can't tell you, I got a message on my phone about an hour ago from a kid that's coming back that played for us, who's about to graduate college at the end of the year. Ended the message with me, ball down, ball out. Can't wait to see you tonight, Coach. Ball down, ball out. I think it's just something that our kids have burned into their brain, and I'm hoping that it'll carry over for not just the 4 years there with me, but on into life. When they go into that interview, my proper preparation has gotten me ready for this. I'm putting the ball down. I'm balling out today, right? It doesn't matter the scenario. It's just a mindset of not creating excuses, not complaining. I control my own destiny. And proper preparation will put me in a position to be successful. So, I truly believe in this mantra that we've been preaching around here, and I think it's helped our kids get an understanding of what we are and who we are. And our teams break it down on that from K1 all the way up to high school. So it's something that we're trying to ingrain in East Cobb all the way through and through.
Yeah, it's something your entire team can use to motivate them at practice? I know depth is something that you guys have worked on all year. You guys were the only program that brought 2 squads to the 7-on-7s. It's really top to bottom. So what have you seen just from the depth and maybe guys that aren't out there starting but are still buying in and helping you guys just in practice and throughout the year?
Well, I mean, I think, again, it goes back to this game's bigger than Friday nights for us. It's about everything we're doing Monday through Friday and 12 months of the year as far as player development. Every kid in my program has a role, and I'm asking them all to be superstars in that role. They may not be a starter on offense or defense, but they got a role, and it's important to this team that they're a superstar in that role. As far as a development standpoint, we've really pushed hard and tried to make a concerted effort to do a better job of handling our 9th grade and JV, handling how we're getting kids on the field on Friday nights, and it's really paid huge dividends for us. We've only lost 1 game in the whole program from 9th grade all the way up to varsity all year long. We've lost 1 9th grade game, a tough one in Newton, but JV was undefeated. Obviously, varsity's undefeated, and I think that's a byproduct of the development piece that we've really poured into over here. But we've had guys step up. I mean, Wyatt Sonderman being out with a hand earlier in the year. We had guys step up for him. Last week he didn't play. We had another receiver step up and had the first touchdown of the game. So I think we got more guys willing and ready and prepared to step up when their number's called. But I think it all goes back to building a selfless culture, understanding that it's not about me, it's about this team and doing what's helping this team be successful. So if that means I'm not getting as many reps on a Friday night, so be it. I'm willing to do what I need to do in practice. And like our scout team on defense right now is probably one of the best we've ever had. We call it our prep D. They're giving our offense the best looks. They're giving our offense, honestly, a better look than they're getting on some Fridays. And those are the kids that are all going to be returning and playing for us next year. They bought into it. Our coaches have bought into it. So they're getting excited about competing with the starting offense. And, we've done some stuff where we had all the seniors were playing the returning guys in a scrimmage, and we had 9th grade and JV going on the other side of the field. So we've been trying to create competition all year long, trying to have the guys that are going to be playing for us next year competing against the guys we currently have, so on and so forth. And I think it's all culminated in us having a depth that we've never had before rolling into the playoffs. And knock on wood, we're healthier than we've been in the past, and we've got more depth than we've had in the past. So hopefully that'll bode well for us as this thing continues on.
Yep, and a guy that has kind of blown up this season is Cam Lloyd, your receiver. He stepped up big when Wyatt went out. But when Najee had him on the show, he was talking about the confidence his teammates have in him really helped him step up and make the play. And then you see it. As soon as he gets the ball in his hand, you see Hunter Teal holding up the touchdown. He knows he's going to take it to the house. So talk about that selfless culture and just how the guys are supporting each other and just helping them throughout the game.
It's just all love around here, man. I mean, it's just all love. I mean, it's something that I don't think our kids are afraid to talk about, and we preach it. I mean, I love these boys. They love each other. I think the celebrating of each other's success is a byproduct of people really caring about one another. And somebody scores, and it's not like, why wasn't it my touchdown? It's this team's touchdown. And I think it's the kids that we have, but it's the culture that we've built and established, and it's something you got to work on. I mean, I tell the kids yesterday, our culture is something that's got to continue to be worked on. It's like a garden. If you're not weeding it, if you're not watering it, if you're not tending to to your culture, it's going to deteriorate and not get stronger. And we expect our culture to grow stronger and stronger the longer we're here. And it's been really a breath of fresh air to watch these guys really celebrate each other and really that selfless attitude, which is, I'd say it's probably unique in the world we're living in right now. So that's one thing that we feel like we're doing over here. We have a calling and a mission, and we're trying to teach these kids that in this selfish world where it's me, I, social media, there is a place for team. There is a place for community. There is a place for a we over me mentality, and it's really showing up in our season and our play right now.
Yep, and I've been impressed with both lines of scrimmage, and when former Raiders I hang out with, they ask about the team, I said, let's just put it this way. They have SEC and Ivy League guys playing together on the offensive and defensive line. That's a really strong combination. You got the smarts, the physicality. Just talk about both lines of scrimmage, just how they've gelled together.
I mean, we've had a few guys playing both ways, probably more than we've had in the past. But, again, trying to get our best 11 on the field. Now, we rotate a lot, so we're getting some, sophomores out there that haven't played a lot, but when they need the experience. But it's a tight-knit group. So I think what we did this offseason was very important for us. Every lineman was an O lineman. And until we decided we were going to start moving some guys over to work on the defensive side, there's got to be a huge buy-in for playing O-line. Justin Kruger, who's been a starter for us on the defensive line, went over and played O-line, still doing it. Lodi Ugokwe gets in and spot play on the offensive line. Everybody wants to get on the D-line because they can make tackles and get stats and sacks and all that cool stuff. Nobody's loving up the O-line typically like the skill kids. And that, I think, is why we've been successful on the front, is it's a collective group. It's not like O-line versus D-line. No, we're all linemen. We're all in this together. We're going to own the line of scrimmage no matter what side of the ball we're in and on. And, it's been really, really refreshing, and I hope that continues with our program because I think if you look around the state, there's not many places where you got O-linemen falling off of trees, and over here in East Cobb with, all the moms worrying about their babies being in great shape and feeding them vegan, grass-fed, and all this other stuff, and they're going to, all these holistic places. I think I'm trying to get as many big, mean, tough guys that want to play O-line over here as possible and cultivate what we've got going on in our youth program. And, we put on a lineman camp this offseason. It's just creating excitement about a position that typically doesn't get that much excitement created about it. And those are all the areas we're trying to improve on. And I think most of the state probably feels the same way about that with the linemen.
For sure. And then let's talk real quick about North Gwinnett. We've seen them play recently. They're going to be a number 3 seed, but this is a team that was in a tie for the region title. They're very talented. Ryan Hall's an exceptional quarterback. What stands out just about what they've been able to do this season?
I think they've gotten better as the year's gone on. I mean, they've continued to – had a tough game with Mill Creek at the beginning of the season, but, watching through their whole season, they've continued to get better and better and better. Big game with Norcross that they, really kind of rolled. And then last week they looked awesome against West Forsyth. So I just think they've continued to get better. The quarterback's extremely dynamic. I think he's got something near 800 yards on the ground rushing and something like 800 in the air passing. So obviously a dual threat that can score at any moment. That's always going to be a challenge. I think they're coached extremely well. They play extremely hard. They play great team football. Coach Godfrey's done an amazing job over there. He's done a great job, and thank the world to him and what they've done on the field. So, I think we're going to have our hands full. Great challenge ahead of us. But do feel like if we put together our game and play the game I know we can play tonight and don't make too many mistakes, which I know we'll make a few, just limit those, I think we'll be in good shape as that fourth quarter rolls around. But, I don't know that it's the same North Gwinnett that we've seen in the past with, all the P5 DBs and the guys up front and all that. So, I think the D-line's one of the best we've seen this year. But again, I think we're pretty good up front as well. So feel pretty good about that matchup.
Yep. And Ryan Hall, he has 11 rushing touchdowns. He definitely has proven to be a dual threat. He's going to run around. But let's talk about your quarterback real quick, Jeremy Hecklinski, the numbers he's put up, and just what have you seen from him, just the leadership on the field, the presence, just what he's brought to the table.
He's the best in the state, man. He is the money man, and he hadn't gotten to get on the field as much as he probably would have liked at times this year because we were blowing teams out, and I'm not running scores up on people, and I'm not going to go out there and pad his stats up. And that's what I'll say I appreciate about him the most. I talked to him earlier in the season about we're going to rotate some quarterbacks in to make sure they're getting reps and developing. We're not going to sit out there and run yardage up so you can have some kind of ungodly numbers in the state. I think there's some people around the state that do that, and I just don't see that as being the right way to do things. And I really appreciate him not having any ego in this. He's all about this team and winning the state championship. So not at any point has he talked about his stats and any of that kind of stuff. And heck, he's done all that in Elite 7A in passing, right? So I think if we would have had a year where he would have played complete games for 11 in a row, I'd be shocked what his numbers would look like. They'd be outstanding and even better than they currently are. But the kid's got 1 interception on the year, 30-something touchdowns, absolutely a resilient human, a great kid. He's my son's favorite player now. So, he's having fun watching Jeremy and run around with him. And, I think the world of the kid. So fired up about what he's going to be able to do tonight and hopefully keeps this thing rolling for 4 more weeks.
Awesome. Well, Coach, I could keep you for a long time, but I'm going to let you go. I know you're busy for this lead up for the game. Best of luck Hopefully we'll see you later on in the playoffs, and go Raiders.
Thanks so much, guys. Go Raiders.
Yep, you bet. All right, so there you go. Very impressive. It's going to be an interesting matchup. He mentioned Ryan Hall, so he is the second leading rusher for North Gwinnett. He did a great job against Norcross, had 3 rushing touchdowns, was very dangerous in the red zone. So I think with him, it's just his ability to improvise. Walton has a great defense, a lot of speed, explosive guys up front, in the secondary, the linebacking core. All 3 levels are outstanding, but they're just going to have to watch out for those plays where he's improvising, throwing on the run. He's got a great arm. He's an exceptional baseball player, a 3-year starter. So that's going to be the key, is just not letting him hurt them with his legs. But there you have it, one of the many matchups we'll be watching tonight. But let's go ahead and take a quick break and thank our sponsors. We'll be back on the other side.
What you doing?
Hey, just finishing this claim to get Dave back on the road.
Nice. I wonder what Dave's doing.
You do your thing. We've got you covered.
Hey, does it matter if this leaks?
It don't matter to me. Can't see it from my house.
Illegal use of hands, improper training.
GeorgiaConstructionCareers.com has 14 different highly skilled trades with tuition-free training in our certified apprenticeship programs to train you the right way. Find your career at GeorgiaConstructionCareers.com.
All right, welcome back, and let's just talk real quick about Jeremy Hecklinski. It's crazy to think that they aren't running the score up on teams when they have a 40-point average margin of victory this year, but it is true. In that last win against Mountain View, 66-7, they had the defensive turnover. I think they produced 3 turnovers in a row in the first half. They jump out to a huge lead, end up winning 66-7. Jeremy Hecklinski had 5 passing touchdowns. However, he was 11 of 12 passing, so only 12 attempts. It's not like he was out there throwing the ball 40 times. They've just been that on point. And what makes their offense also dangerous is the way they can not only be versatile, but really test the defense with their tempo. They're so well prepared where they get a big play on first down and it's a second and short situation, they're going to run up and either just hand it off, get the fresh set of downs, or they'll have a play drawn up, try to strike a big one. They are aggressive, but also careful in their approach. They play the clock well. They've just been so impressive this season. They're number 1 in my poll. We'll see if this is the year. I'm obviously a big-time homer. I'm pulling for them. So let's look at the national ranking. Speaking of Walton, they are currently one of 4 teams in the top 25 in the Cal Preps. They are currently sitting at 25. They dropped down from 18 last week after a 66-7 win. Explain that one. Mill Creek is sitting at number 23. They were 20 last week, so they dropped 3 spots. Thomas County Central moved up to number 20, and then Colquitt jumped all the way from number 19 to number 10. I think that's going to be interesting. The big storyline, of course, for Colquitt is their quarterback got injured in the first round. He was seen on not crutches. He only had 1 crutch. I think they've been trying to see if he can go, but he's definitely dealing with an injury. He's not going to be 100%, so that's a big storyline. But similarly to these other teams, Colquitt's so balanced offensively. They've got great playmakers, so I'm sure they'll be just fine. So let's look at my top 30 games for tonight that I'm going to be keeping close tabs on we'll have halftime coverage, post-game coverage. We'll be updating the brackets throughout the night. First one, Blessed Trinity at Gainesville. Huge matchup. Blessed Trinity has been outstanding this year defensively. They've kind of had a quiet season in 6A where they haven't necessarily been in the poll. Their 2 losses, they lost to Marist in a close game that we televised, and then they lost to Roswell. They've had some big wins. I thought they looked really impressive against Alpharetta late in the season. They had the big win over Calhoun in their season opener. And obviously this is going to be a tough matchup with Gainesville. Baxter Wright, he's very mobile, multi-year starter. They're really aggressive on throwing slants. And then Gavin Hall, obviously, is going to be the big X factor. The transfer over from Hebron Christian, he's having an all-state season. In my opinion, he's been the MVP of the team this year. He has multiple games where he's gone for over 300 yards. He's physical, he can catch, and he has that quarterback athleticism that has transferred over to the running back position, where he's just packed on the size and really been a valuable piece to their entire offense. And then the other key player for Gainesville is Sky Niblett. That's Coach Niblett's son. He has 30 career touchdowns. When we saw them last year, he was a red zone threat mostly. He's big. He can go up and get the ball. But this year, he's done much more in the open field. He's physical after the catch, and he's taken that next step. So I think stopping Gavin Hall, trying to limit and get sacks on Baxter Wright, and then keeping an eye on Gavin Hall is going to be a key. And the good news for Blessed Trinity, they're very young. They're going to be returning everyone next season. So an opportunity to play a team that made the finals last year, I think it will be a good test for them to grow from. All right, Bremen at Cedar Grove. Cedar Grove kind of struggled in the first round against Hebron, didn't play their best game. They've been in a lot of situations like that this year, playing that difficult schedule. They had some losses. They've looked exceptional in other games. They dominated the region. But let's see how Cedar Grove responds in the second round. They got past the first round. See how they look on both sides of the ball. All right, Brunswick at Marist. I think that's an interesting 6A matchup. With that Brunswick region, we saw South Effingham go down. We saw Glen Academy lose a tough one to Jonesboro. Let's see if that region can stay in the playoffs against a Marist team that isn't going to make mistakes. Jack Ewart, the quarterback's going to have the tough runs and obviously lead that War Eagles offense. And then you got Luke Harpering on the defensive side and also coming in at tight end. All right, Buford at Norcross. What will we see from Buford tonight? Norcross, obviously they're going to know their opponent. It's Buford, state championship contender, one of the best programs in the state and country. And I think the key is just going to be A.J. Watkins. I like that Norcross offense. Last season, they set the school record for most points in the season. And then this year, they've been in that same rate. With A.J. Watkins at the quarterback position, he's had, I think, 5 games this season where he's rushed for a touchdown, passed for a touchdown, and hauled in a touchdown reception. I think he's going to try to do the same today. And who's going to be the best player on the field when this game's over? Is it going to be KJ Bolden? Is it going to be Dylan Raiola? Or is it going to be A.J. Watkins? I think that's going to be the key. Norcross has relied on A.J. all season in tough games. He's got breakaway speed, and this is the big test going up against Buford. Can he use that escapability, the design runs, the tough 3rd and 1s? They're going to need him to just play phenomenal. All right, Camden County at McEachern. Should be a really interesting matchup. McEachern's probably the hottest team in 7A right now. Just an 0-4 start, just getting better every single week. dominating their region, having big wins over Valdosta, and then coming out of a really challenging region with Harrison, North Paulding, and Marietta. I think McEachern knows it's going to have to run the ball to win this game. That's what they've done all season long, and I think Camden's the same sort of way. So both of those teams pride themselves on running the football. I think it's going to be an interesting matchup, and it is at McEachern, so that is a long trip for the Wildcats. All right, Cedartown at North Oconee. That is a rematch of last year's semifinals. North Oconee 2 years ago got beat by Cedartown by 40 points. The year after that, they lost by a touchdown. So Cedartown has had their number, but I think going into this one, North Oconee is going to be a heavy favorite, and they're at home. And North Oconee is one of 6 teams in Class 4A that has not lost a game within the classification. So these are the teams to watch. You got North Oconee, Benedictine, Bainbridge, Stockbridge, Central Carroll, and I'm missing one. Let me start over. I'm going to start with Region 1. All right. Oh, Spalding. So 6 teams have yet to lose, and not only have they not lost, they've dominated every game within Class 4A. Class 4A had probably the best season it's had against outside classifications this year, despite the teams that I mentioned that have lost a couple games. You look at who those teams were. In the case of Bainbridge, Colquitt County, Thomas County Central. The case of Stockbridge, Douglas County, and Colquitt County. And I was wrong about Bainbridge. Their loss wasn't to Colquitt. That one was to Coffee. So every single loss with those teams came to a team that's currently undefeated and either ranked number 1 or number 2. All right, Collins Hill at Milton. It's one of the few games tonight that's going to be a rematch from the regular season. Collins Hill lost that one to Milton. They had a ton of turnovers. I don't think they had figured out themselves offensively to that point. Collins Hill struggled offensively for the majority of the season, but in recent weeks, I think they have finally found that rhythm. And then defensively, Collins Hill has been outstanding throughout the years. When they won the state title with Travis Hunter and Sam Horn, the defense was the best in the state. They have maintained that up front. They're going to try to stop the Milton rushing attack, which that has been a criticism this season. Milton's got a great passing attack, but in terms of running the ball, sometimes they've struggled to establish that balance. So if Collins Hill can try to limit the pass while not having to stack the box to shut down the Milton run, I think they have a chance. But it should be an interesting matchup, and playing a familiar opponent is always tough. All right, Dalton at Creekside, big 5A matchup. Dalton's coming off a big win over Greater Atlanta Christian. That was a very experienced team. I know that region got swept, but still I thought it was an impressive victory for Dalton. They'll have their hands full with Creekside and that two-headed rushing attack. And then defensively, Creekside has so much speed, so I think they're going to be able to do a good job stopping the run and just forcing Dalton to try to get something going in the passing game. Could see quite a bit of turnovers. And if Dalton can't establish something deep, Creekside is just going to be all over that backfield. All right, Eastside at Cartersville. I think Cartersville has a pretty favorable quadrant in 5A, so we're going to keep an eye on them, see if they can handle business against Eastside. Hiram at Jefferson, be a very intriguing matchup, one of the few top 10 showdowns this week. Jefferson's been phenomenal this season, undefeated. They've been great on both sides of the ball. And then unlike last year where they were more pass-oriented, I think they've gotten back to just physical football. And that Hiram defense has not been impressive this season. Offensively, they can light up the scoreboard, but I think Jefferson's going to have a lot of success offensively. All right, Houston County at Woodward Academy. That has been deemed as one of the best matchups in the second round. Let's see what they say about it right here. All right, they said, yeah, the Georgia High School Football Daily said this is the best game. It says, led by Colorado committed quarterback A.J. Hill, 9th-ranked Houston County of Class 5A averages 40 points per game. The Bears are playing at number 10-ranked Woodward Academy, a team that hasn't allowed more than 17 points to a Georgia team this season. Wake Forest committed linebacker Andrew Hines is among 4 Power 5 conference recruits starting on the War Eagles defense. So great point right there. It's the Woodward Academy, outstanding defense against the firepower of A.J. Hill. If they can stop the screen game and just limit big plays over the top, I think they can get that win. It will be at Woodward. All right, Jones County at Coffee. Coffee has, I think, had the best defensive season out of anyone in 5A. Last time I checked, it was 5 points per game they were allowing. Jones County, a good football team out of a great region. Would be a tough task for them, but can someone crack the code of that Coffee defense? All right, Jonesboro at Thomas County Central. I think it's the same story as the Jones County trip. Thomas County Central's defense has just not given an inch this season. They haven't had to do much offensively because their defense has been so dominant. Can they just win field position and limit the big play? I think they'll have a favorable chance against Jonesboro. All right, LaGrange at Benedictine in Class 4A. Last week in 4A, there were no top 10 matchups. This week, there's 2 of them, and that is one. The key in this game, I had it in front of me. Here we go. All right, so LaGrange, I compare them almost to McEachern, but I'd say they've been even hotter lately. Had a huge win over Troop to close out the regular season. They looked outstanding in the first round, 45-6 win over Westover. And the key is Malachi Fannin Rinder. He tore his ACL in the spring, and he has returned in recent weeks. That's helped LaGrange just become more explosive offensively, and he had a touchdown in the first quarter last round. And then defensively, they forced 4 turnovers, and they built a 35-0 lead at the half. They're playing Benedictine. It's obviously the Kings of Class 4A. They have not lost within the classification in 3 seasons, but I think LaGrange has great players in the trenches. The defense is solid. It's just the best player on the field is obviously going to be Benedictine's quarterback. So can you have an 11-player effort from LaGrange where they can win those individual matchups and just stay close and hopefully try to pull something out? It's going to be a tough matchup, but I do think it's going to be close. Benedictine has been in some close games this season, especially in the region. All right, Lovett at Central Carroll. Should be a very intriguing matchup. Central Carroll is undefeated. Lovett was one of just 2 teams last round in Class 4A to win on the road. It was Lovett and Troop. Lovett beat Madison County, number 2 seed out of Region 8. And then Central Carroll had a tough matchup against Hateville Charter. I think Hateville was a different type of opponent that Central Carroll hasn't really faced this season, just with their big skill guys and overall team speed. Out of their region, there's a lot of run-oriented teams, so that was a big test for them. I think this one goes back to facing a more run-oriented Lovett team, but should be a really great 4A matchup. All right, Mays at, sorry, that's not at Cass, that's Cass at Mays. That's a big 5A matchup, a rematch from last year. Mays, that team doesn't give up. They are very explosive, and I think you're going to see a really high-scoring, entertaining game. The key in that one's going to be Brody McCorder, Cass's quarterback. Can he lead the offense like he did last week? No turnovers, rushing touchdowns, and getting the ball out to Sokovie White. All right, New Hampstead at Stars Mill. I think this is a potential upset. New Hampstead is having one of the better seasons they've had in its short existence. Stars Mill is the Region 4 champs. Their defense has been lights out this season. Offensively, they have not been as successful. Whereas New Hampstead, they've been lighting up the scoreboard. I think their quarterback had 6 touchdowns last week, 4 passing, 2 rushing. So can Stars Mill defense shut down one of the better passing attacks in 4A? All right, North Gwinnett at Walton. We already talked about that one. How's Walton going to look? A Walton win would potentially set up a trip to Carrollton in the quarterfinals. All right, North Paulding at Grayson. North Paulding, they're very well coached. I like their defense. They've got a great front. For Grayson, though, it's just going to be about the mismatches, getting the ball out to Kylan Fox, getting it to John Senius, Dylan Elder at the running back position, and then J.D. Davis, their quarterback's having a phenomenal season. Can that Grayson offense continue rolling? All right, Oconee County at Lumpkin County. Oconee County looked impressive last round, got a big win over Douglas. And then you got a Lumpkin County team that's undefeated. They're going to be at home, having one of their best seasons in school history, and they are favorited in that matchup. It would, I think, be their first ever trip to the quarterfinals. All right, Peachtree Ridge at Mill Creek. Very intriguing battle. The point I've made all week is against Lambert last week. Lambert ran a bunch of screen plays. Mill Creek's not going to do that. They're going to hand the ball off to Cam Robinson and try to challenge Peachtree Ridge in that way, and then try to go over the top to Trajan Greco. Should be a tough test, but it's going to come down to Darnell Kelly and him leading the Peachtree Ridge offense against, obviously, a phenomenal Mill Creek defense. All right, Perry at Bainbridge. Bainbridge yet to lose in 4A. Perry has had to deal with their quarterback going down, but they had a guy step up, I think 3 weeks ago, that prior to the season had only attempted 10 passes. He's now attempted 100 on the season, and Coach Smith has gotten Perry back to form. So I think it's going to be an intriguing matchup. Perry's got Ahmad Gordon, a lot of playmakers. They can run the ball really well, but Bainbridge is definitely battle-tested. All right, Thomasville at Calvary Day. Thomasville comes out of a very impressive region. I just think Calvary Day is on a different level. Jake Merklinger had a perfect first-round outing, didn't throw an incompletion, and then defensively, Calvary Day looks much more stout this season. They look like the most complete team in Class 3A. All right, Troop is going to Spalding. Kurt Clark, Spalding's quarterback, has been the key this season as Spalding's gone undefeated. But Troop is a very tough and talented football team. All right, Upson Lee at Carver Columbus, another a big matchup to watch in Class 3A. Carver Columbus, as I mentioned, just 2 years ago was in the 4A finals. Last year they had a tough loss to Oconee County to end their season, a game they felt they should have won. And then this year they've gotten the home field advantage, and they're looking to make that deep run and return to the finals. All right, Valdosta at Carrollton. That game will be televised tonight on GPB. I think with this one, Carrollton has proven to me they have the most dangerous passing attack, I think, in 7A. It's because of their mismatches. Caleb Odom is an absolute monster. Was he like 6'6"? Can play above the rim in basketball, and then just on the football field, he's a absolute athletic specimen. He'll be the key Juju has been just phenomenal leading them this season. Had over 440 yards last round. I think 6 or 7 touchdowns. So it's just going to be about trying to stop that Carrollton passing attack. All right, 4 more. All right, Ware County at Warner Robins. A rematch of last year's 5A state finals. Just a phenomenal matchup. Lots of history between those programs. Warner Robins is going to try to get that revenge. All right, Wesleyan at Stevens County. In this game, a stat that Najee pointed out yesterday, Stevens County had something like 54 sacks or 48 sacks this season, just coming from all over the place. Multiple guys with 9 sacks. They're going to try to swarm and get after Wesleyan. So he's 100% right. It's going to come down to Wesleyan's offensive line being able to communicate and stop that onslaught. All right, Westlake at Colquitt County. The key is going to be the health of Colquitt County's quarterback. And then Westlake's obviously a really talented team, but Colquitt's been on another level, so we'll see what happens in that one. And then finally, Westminster at Stockbridge. I think Stockbridge is the real deal. They beat Lovett this year. I think that was like 42-0. They've just been unstoppable, talented on both sides of football. Westminster got its first playoff win since 2018 last week, but I like Stockbridge to make a deep run. All right, so there you have it for my top 30 games. Those will be updated throughout the broadcast tonight. Let's go ahead. We'll take one more quick break, and we'll be back on the other side.
Dang, where you get this car?
You need to join the union.
The union?
Absolutely. You can get 10 of these.
Union construction workers earn the highest wages with the best benefits and the most protection in the construction industry. Find your career in construction. Go to GeorgiaConstructionCareers.com and start your future today.
What you doing?
Hey, just finishing this claim to get Dave back on the road.
Nice. I wonder what Dave's doing.
You do your thing. We've got you covered.
All right, welcome back. So let's talk a little bit about our outstanding matchup tonight. It's going to be Hughes at Rome. Hughes, of course, got the number 2 seed after falling to Douglas County in region play, so they will be on the road probably throughout the playoffs. But this is going to be a rematch of last year's semifinals. Hughes won that game 42-3, and that set them up for their first state title. That score last year was obviously not uncommon. Hughes blew out every single opponent, I guess with the exception of Gainesville. Gainesville kept it close in the finals, but last year was just something I don't think I've ever seen. They set the all-time state record for most points scored, one of the most dominant runs, and you could argue one of the best teams to ever come out of the state. So this year, the question is how similar are they to last year? Well, Douglas County is obviously a lot better than they were last year. That's why they got that win. I saw all over Twitter last night, I think responding to either Rusty or Matt Stewart, people look at Douglas County as a state championship caliber team this year. And so that loss aside, who knows? Maybe we'll see a Hughes Douglas County rematch. But Hughes still has Prentice Aaron Nolan. They still have skilled players everywhere. And then this year, it's their rushing attack with Justice Savage, who burst to the scene week 1 against Carrollton. An outstanding game, late game heroics, and then picked up offers immediately. He's been putting in the work all off season. He's got ridiculous footwork. and he has been a tough matchup for everyone this season. So obviously Rome has a good defense. I really like Joe Wilkinson at that safety position. By far one of the most physical downhill hitters we've seen. He's an absolute tackling machine. Rome also has great guys up front, solid at the linebacker position, but I think Justice Savage has the physicality in addition to the Hughes size up front, where they're going to still be able to establish the run. When Rome played Cass, when Rome played Carrollton earlier this year, both of those coaches knew going into it, in order to beat Rome, we're going to have to buckle it up and find a way to establish the run. Cass was unable to do it. Carrollton was. Kamari Farmer, after Bryce Hicks went down, had an absolutely incredible game. Took like 26 carries as the freshman, over 200 yards rushing. So Justice Savage is going to have to play that role tonight. He's going to have to take those hard carries, keep that defense honest and balanced. And so I think Justice Savage can do it. He's battle tested this season, and let's look at his numbers real quick. In last week, Hughes beat North Forsyth 41-7. They were up 14-7 at the end of the third quarter and then broke the game open with 4 fourth-quarter touchdowns, including 2 on Justice Savage runs. So he played the role of finisher in that game after having hard-earned carries throughout the first 3 quarters. Once the dam broke, that's something Hughes has proven to do. Last year, we saw it multiple times, like late in the second half, the opponent is only down by a touchdown or down 2 touchdowns. There's 4 minutes left, and Hughes puts up 2 more touchdowns in a short span, just using that explosive ability and then defensively. So they can definitely score and burst, and then Justice Savage has proven the ability to just close out games as the finisher. He's got 1,192 yards on the season. All right, so in that victory, Aaron Nolan passed for 225 yards and 2 touchdowns. He's got 2,242 yards on the season. So really balanced offense, and Aaron Nolan has a monster arm. Was he number 1 ranked quarterback in the state, or he was until Dylan Raiola moved in? Yeah, so he was the top rated passer in the state of Georgia. Dylan was number 1 nationally. Now he's number 2. And that's after just a brilliant career. He's going to Ohio State. He's got the arm strength. He can throw it deep. He's got great touch on the football, and he's going to distribute it to all their playmakers. All right, so Rome, they rank 2nd in scoring in all of 6A with 50.82 points per game. And then 1st for points allowed among 6A teams. They're allowing just 7 points per game. But sort of the same story last year. Rome had the biggest margin of victory over its region opponents than any team in the state. So they dominated the region once again this season. The number 2 seed ended up being Sequoia. Number 3 was Creekview, but they were just head and shoulders above those teams. So Hughes is probably the best team Rome's faced since the Carrollton game. No offense to those opponents. And so they have definitely looked outstanding. And then looks like against Sprayberry in the first round, it was a 56-0 victory. It was their 5th shutout of the season, and 9th game allowing 8 points or less. So defensively, those stats are amazing, but it's going to be about stopping Justice Savage, who I think is going to take a ton of carries. And then I have these stats from the Carrollton and Rome game, because, as I said, I think this is the best team that Rome's faced since then. And Carrollton played Hughes, and it was a very close game. So they do kind of match up well. Great quarterback, tons of athletes. And so in that game, The final score was 33 Carrollton, Rome 13. Let's see. Rome was able to pass the ball for 331 yards, but they struggled to run the ball against Carrollton, so they relied on the pass a little too much. They did have Chance Arthur go down in that game. That was their junior running back, Javarius McDermott. We saw him play. He is their leading back. He's going to get a ton of action tonight. And then in that game, Reese Fountain was 29 of 44 with 1 interception. So I think in order for Rome to win this game, they're going to have to run the ball and control the clock. And so if they can't establish the run, and if they rely too much on the passing game, Hughes is going to dial up that pressure and try to disrupt them. So they need a balanced attack. Obviously, they know that going in. And then in that game, Carrollton handed the ball to Kamari Farmer, the sophomore, 30 times for 200 yards. So I know that's a game that happened back on September 1st, but I think when you look at Carrollton, when they played Hughes, that was a very even matchup. And I just think that's going to be the key. Can Rome establish a run? Can Hughes establish the run? 2 great quarterbacks, Reese Fountain, Prentice Nolan. They've matched up before, but it will be what team's going to win in the trenches. So that'll be a lot of fun. It starts early, and then defensively, as I said, I like Joe Wilkinson in that Rome defense. You're going to see him flying around, one of the most entertaining defensive players I've seen all season long, the way he can come down and hit. So there's going to be a lot of pride on the line. The stakes are high. Rome knows what happened last year. They certainly aren't underestimating Hughes, but they're going to have to come out, avoid the turnovers, and Reese is going to have to get in a rhythm and really just lead a methodical game. They're going to have to show up physically. But that's it. I'm excited for it. We'll have that coverage. Just tweeted out the link from Score Atlanta's account. We're going to have recaps of all the games tonight on scoreatl.com. Be sure to check those out. And then we will see you on Monday for Thanksgiving week. Thank you so much.
What you doing?
Hey, just finishing this claim to get Dave back on the road.
Nice. I wonder what Dave's doing.
You do your thing. We've got you covered.